You don't see this part of the piano once the soundboard is in there, but that doesn't mean it's not going to look pretty. It doesn't mean that we don't want it to look nice. So I want to show you this project we're working on. This is a Blüthner. This is a 1925. I'll have to get the right date for that. But we're making a pin block for it. And so Brian has got to do a lot of things that are extra on this particular piano because it has a special pin block. You can see that the plate is here and he's fitted this in here. Now the thing with a pin block is it has to fit exactly and snug against the plate. There can't be any gaps or any distances. It has to be very, very, very precise, nice, right up against it. So over here I want to show you the original. And he's using the original as a pattern. And so if you can take a look at this, there's all these different levels. So normally when we put a pin block in, it's just one long piece and you make sure it fits nice and snug against the iron frame. But this one has these cutouts. And so he is having to make those cutouts on the new pin block. But not only does it have that kind of stick up beyond it, it's got this different level here. And so this has to fit snug against the plate too. So you've got a level here, a level here, a level here, a level here, a level here. And so he's having to make all that, which he normally doesn't have to do. So this is a lot of extra work for this. And also, this is one of those pianos that has this brass plate. Now, we talked about this in another video. You can go back and look. It was a 1905 Blüthner that we had last month, or a couple months ago. This sits right on top of the pin block, and so it's not an open face because this sits there. But if this was taken away, it would just be the wood underneath. So this is going to get cleaned up. It's going to get nice. It's a brass piece, so it's going to look pretty when it's all said and done. But this also has to have a piece. So he's made that piece so it's going to fit really nice on there. And then he has to drill all the holes to match what's here. So those are little extra steps that he's having to do. And right now he's just sanding the pieces and making them fit. And they're going to go right here. There's a lot of different screws and there's just a lot of components to this piano. It's going to be beautiful when it's done, but there's a lot to making a pin block, particularly on these older Blüthner pianos. So we have another Blüthner here that is an older piano and it's got the same style pin block as the one that Brian is making. So I want to show you what it looks like when it's all done. So here we have, it's all beautiful. The plate has been rebronzed and we've got the nice shiny A-grafts in there. And this is that plate that I was showing you on the other one that sits right on top of that pin block. And so if you took that off, it would be that wood material underneath. And you can see all the screws that are involved in this. There's a lot of different screws. So when he's fitting this plate, there's a bit of an extra process to make sure that everything fits properly. So this is about to get strung. It's got the beautiful blue felt already on there, and Colton is going to start the stringing process on this piano very shortly. So this is the Blüthner that Brian is making the pin block for. You can take a look. This is kind of the skeleton of the piano right now. It has been prepped, and so he will be installing the soundboard, but he first has to make the pin block, and the bridges are being made currently. Once those components are made, he can put them all together and start fitting it all. But you can see that this underpinning has been prepped and it's ready. So, you know, you don't see this part of the piano once the soundboard is in there, but that doesn't mean it's not going to look pretty. It doesn't mean that we don't want it to look nice. So we've gone through and we've epoxied all these joints. You don't want to put in a soundboard unless the foundation is strong. And so you have to start off with a really great foundation. Otherwise, you're going to have the crown in the soundboard won't last as long and the sound won't be as good, and you might have some rattles and different noises because of the joints in here aren't nice and tight. So we've gone through and we've checked all the glue joints. We epoxy them, make sure that those are nice and tight. They're not going to have any issues after all that weight is put down on the piano again. And then we paint it and we make it nice and pretty in black. So this has been painted. This has been cleaned. We are gonna keep, I think he's probably gonna clean it a little bit more because we want this to be nice and ready for the, you can see where the ribs go here, and that's where the soundboard is gonna sit. And then once the plate is in there, we string it, and then of course we'll get the rest of the piano. But this is a view that you never see, so take a look at it while you can. So these are the case parts for that Blüthner that Brian is working on. You can see the Blüthner decal there. Those are brass decals that are inlaid into the wood, and so that is an original decal that stays with the piano. And then this is the music desk, so it's not as fancy as some, but it is a little fancier. It's kind of pretty. The legs themselves are straight, and the pedal wire is straight, so that's a more traditional look to it, but it'll be a really nice looking instrument when it's all said and done. These have the finish on them already, so they're sitting over in this area curing and kind of out of the way so they don't get damaged while the piano's going through the other process in the shop. But when it's time to assemble, these will get pulled out and put together, and hinges and felt and everything that needs to go on them, and then put in the piano when the time comes. So this is the bass bridge for that Blüthner, and this is the treble side up here. So we've got them chiseled and affixed to this is the original piece down here, and here's the bridge cap. You can see we've got a little line of laminate material. I did a video on why we do that, so go back and see if you can find that. And so now it needs to have the pins pounded in there and then be installed on the soundboard. So these are almost done. They're close, and this will get cleaned up too, so it'll match everything once it's all said and done. It'll look nice and shiny and new again. So these are all kind of happening simultaneously, making the bridge, making the pin block. And soon we are going to rebronze that plate. It'll get lettered. So there's still a lot in the process happening, but this is when things start to really move along and we get to see the different changes. When it's in the finished department, there's a lot of sitting and curing and spraying, and you know, see a lot of the changes there. But once it gets to this department here, it's really kind of fun because things start to move quicker.